Things were going too well, so I changed my microphone.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
That's different, right?
yeah, it is. So I have two of these. Well,
Yeah.
they're slightly different. One's a Yeti Blue Pro, and this is just a Yeti. The
Okay. But
difference
the
is
blue cover was it?
no, the blue
You know.
cover isn't. What was there is a difference though. So
Hmm.
there on the other one, this is silver. This
Yep.
is and these are got like silver accents. There's two reasons why I switched. The first reason being, I think the other one's starting to die. Like
Yeah.
there's a weird popping sound that happens, and I recorded a video like test video yesterday, and I didn't hear it on this one.
Okay.
Um,
I'm looking at your other picture, the picture from the previous.
yeah,
Okay.
it's subtle.
Yeah.
But
It
the
is
other
subtle.
difference is too is without that silver, like the
Mhm.
light doesn't reflect off of it. Like
Yeah, that's good.
obviously.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming audio is going to be screwed up again, and then we'll slowly dial that in, and life will go on. But
See, Brad, I don't think you understand how comments work on our site. It's not going to die down. You're going to have days of complaints.
of course,
You'll make little tweaks, and then 2 weeks will go by, and someone's going to be like, "Just so you know, you never really fixed the problem."
and then I find out they're actually watching an episode from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, that's
Yep.
that has definitely happened before. But anyways, here we are, back again. Today's Wednesday, right? Yes.
Yep. I
Yeah,
should know
that
because
actually took a lot of cognitive thought to process what day of the week it is.
I
Which
left
is-
the house this morning, Brad. Well, I mean, I walk the dog every day, but I mean, my son had to drop his car off at the shop, and I got in the car. And I drove to a place. I feel like it was really far away. It's really close, but the guy goes, "Do you need this back on any particular day?" And we're like, "Nope.
keep it for a month. I
If
don't
you
know.
have car emergencies, you should do those first." Does not
Actually,
matter.
what I imagined was like once you got within like a quarter mile of it, you just left the keys tucked and rolled and just let it go down the hill until it got there.
Exactly. Yeah, my wife was saying. So we have between us, the four people, we have three cars, and she was like, "I was thinking about just taking one of these off the insurance because
Yeah.
we never need all of them." Although this morning, interestingly, my daughter went to work, so she took her car, and I had to drive over in our car so I could drive my son back from dropping off his car. And as my wife observed, this is the first time all the cars were gone in forever, and the
Yeah.
first time she's been in the house alone since this pandemic started. And I was like, "Are you okay, honey? Are you okay?
Mhm.
Everything right?
Yeah.
I could talk you down."
We are back. What is it? There's 15 million. I hate myself already. 15 million brave people are using Brave.
They are brave. Braves,
It's fine.
it's
whatever.
fine. The mobile sync isn't great, but yeah, if you
Have
care
you
about
tried
your
Edge
privacy,
lately?
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I think Brave is on the far end. Well, maybe the Tor browser is on the furthest end, but as far as what we might call mainstream browsers go, it's
Yeah.
kind of on the far end of the spectrum. But Edge is in that direction, and anything would be better than using Chrome. I don't know how many times we need examples of why, but the class action lawsuit that
Yep.
was also announced this week is maybe the latest example of why Brave and Edge and Firefox and whatever should be what you're using, not Chrome.
So I think it'd be fair to say we are connected to the internet, right?
That sounds, yeah, you and I are communicating and whatnot.
My laptop is telling me that my internet or my network has no internet. There we go. Had no internet connectivity, but I can assure you it does.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm curious if anybody else has seen this issue. We have seen it. I've seen it with Paul and several other people in our Office 365 tenant. Anybody doing video calls lately with Teams, we connect, and there is a very noticeable, like 30-second, maybe a 45-second delay before the video will actually pop. I'm curious if anybody else is seeing that lately.
Yep. I don't. Let me think about this. Do we use... I guess I don't really use Teams for much else video-wise than what we do. Yeah, so I can't tell if it's us or...
Yeah, I mean, well, it's definitely not just you and I, because I have it chatting with George and Tina and a couple other people. So it's
the same thing, yeah.
there something strange in the neighborhood. No surprise, Zoom reported like crazy earnings, but
Yeah.
I mean that's up.
Maybe the guy from Slack could spend some time obsessing over Zoom for a while.
The thing is, Slack, I think, has, well, actually, I know it does. It has voice and video calling. It's just terrible. So,
Yeah.
it's like,
I've used Zoom several times now
Yeah.
because of this stupid pandemic thing. And, whatever. It works. I mean,
that's all that really needs to do, right? It's
well, I
just
mean,
kinda-
I've recorded literally thousands of episodes of podcasts using Skype, right? So I think I can come from a position of experience when I evaluate how Zoom works. And I mean, I don't think anything other than the massive number of security problems they've had or whatever. It's funny what happens when, stuff gets out in the world. Anyway, unlike a Microsoft version upgrade, stuff happens. So whatever. It seems fine to me.
I think that's sort of the bench line that people need with a product. Like, seems fine. It's about
Yeah, it's
all you
like,
need.
how was your Zoom experience? You're like, I didn't really notice it.
Yeah,
right,
showed
good.
Up, but
Good. Like, unlike the Teams video experience where we do notice it, where you shouldn't notice it.
Yep. And then you said you're finishing up your go-to review.
Yeah, it's funny when you mentioned that Teams video issue. You reminded me of something I need to put into this review, which is, I'm sorry, actually, you reminded me of it when you mentioned the networking problem. The go-to often when you open it up says there's no network. You get that round basketball icon and it can't find the wireless network. And I think if you wait long enough, it will probably eventually correct itself. But of course, what you want to do when you open it up is actually use it. So what I find myself doing is disconnecting and then reconnecting to the network, and that I find that to be irritating. But that's unfortunately one of the things you got to kind of mention with a device like this. Like when I use my iPad, for example, in the morning, I want to read the paper or something. I flip it open. I sign in with the finger, and I'm in, and it works. And I have problems with the New York Times app or whatever because that app is terrible. But as far as connectivity and everything, no problem. And then on this device, when you try to do kind of a similar scenario, it's just not the same experience. It's just not, and there's a lot of lags and delays, and I don't know. It's just one of the many little things. I mean, I don't know. I get the appeal of such a device. And I do think the Core M3 version solves a lot of problems. It really does. The performance is fine. But it's not just processor performance, right? I mean, when you can't start an app because you're not connected to the internet, doesn't matter what kind of processor you have, Anyway, I do expect to publish this thing today. It won't be as glaringly negative as you're probably imagining, but the problem is you spend money and then at that point maybe you should be getting something else.
I'm gonna try something fancy here. I forgot to bring my mouse over, but then there's that Sabrina, Sabrina TV dongle thing coming from the Googles. They're gonna keep pushing forward with that Android TV one day, hoping that it's gonna meet
I
mass
probably
market.
shouldn't name this person, but when Chromecast V1 appeared, and this is the one that it wasn't just round; it had like the stick out of it that was like the HDMI. It looked like a USB dongle, but it was really an HDMI dongle. There was a friend of mine from Microsoft who was just really into this, and at the time, this would have been like when the Nexus 7 tablet was like a thing and was brand new out in the world. And it was, I'm sure these things came out around the same time. If you look it up, I'm sure they're pretty close. But he was a fan of the Nexus 7, and he loved the Chromecast. And of course, I got one, and I said, look, the problem with this thing is you need a remote. And he's like, no, you don't need a remote. Your phone or your tablet is the remote. It's great. Like I already have it in the living room and everything. And I'm like, yeah, but you're watching TV and the doorbell rings or the phone rings, and now you have to pause it. Now, today they actually have heads-up displays and things that kind of make this a little easier, but you'd have to authenticate against your phone, find the app if it isn't all front and center, that you're using. Remember which app it is because you're just casting. You're not using a Chromecast app. You're using whatever, and then find the interface and pause it. It's like it doesn't sound like a lot, but when a phone is ringing or the doorbell, someone's standing there, it just isn't as immediate. And so from day one, I remember we actually fought over this. I said it needs a remote. That it needs a hardware remote, and he insisted it did not. And anyway, the new version is they're basically changing the OS. It sounds like so that it's not Chromecast, whatever that system is called, Chrome. I don't think it has anything to do with Chrome really, but whatever. They're changing it to Android TV. and they're going to pair it with a remote. Right. You can still cast to it. If you want to interface with it that way, that's fine. But now this thing becomes more useful. That said, I've tested a bunch of Android TV devices too, including displays, like TVs that have it built in and standalone devices and whatever. And as far as like a Roku, Apple TV, whatever competitor, it always seemed kind of lacking to me. So they're going to have to do some, now they're finally getting the remote at least. But I don't know. We'll see. If it's cheap enough, I guess maybe that's the deal. Your Chromecast starts at what, $35 or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I mean, if it's under $100, maybe.
Yep. I'm curious. Did they say when it's going to be announced? I don't know.
No, because it was leaked. So
yeah.
This is one of the things they probably would have announced at Google I/O, right? And then
sure.
Released, sometime in the summer. I don't know, but yeah, hopefully it's not like Christmas time or whatever, the holidays, because we need this thing right now. We're all home. We got nothing to do. Google, come on.
Well, if you really do have nothing to do and the audio sucks, that is paul@thurrott.com.
Yes. I can't believe how many people email me like that.